All right, guys. Take 50. I've tried to film this intro a ton already and I just keep stumbling over my words, so I'm just going to try to get straight to the point here. If you guys haven't seen the very end of my last video or my recent community post, then you won't know that we unfortunately lost Armada. So my very first dog, my oldest dog, she was 14, the small black Chihuahua, we had to put her to sleep. So over the last few years, her health has kind of been slowly declining, and then about 6 months ago, we kind of got a more definitive answer on a few more things that have been kind of plaguing her, I guess you could say. So surgery is off the table now. She's got a bad heart, her kidneys are going, she's on prescription dog food, prescriptions for her seizure and anxiety medications, and then a couple weeks ago she ended up getting really hurt. I won't go into too much detail just to spare you guys because it wasn't great. So yeah, we ended up having to put her to sleep the next day. We were luckily able to do it on the deck here. I was able to get a doctor here pretty quickly, but yeah, we did it out on the back deck in the sun, her favorite spot. And then once it was done, I took Nova and Hydra out, obviously, to come say goodbye to her, and then she was whisked away, and now here's what I'm left with, which is super strange. Jesus. All right, trying to take deep breaths. So yeah, this is Armada now. I'm laughing to try to avoid crying. I knew immediately that I was gonna want to make her own box. Sorry, I'm trying as hard as I can to hold it together. So yeah, I knew right away that I was going to want to make her own box. That's why I was okay with her being put in this just for now, and her nickname on that front nameplate, because I knew I was going to want to make her own. I have had this glass for quite some time, and I had a sheet, or have the other half of the sheet, and I had originally planned to use this glass. I was going to cut out one big oval, just a beautiful mirror that you can't exactly see through because it's such a beautiful glass. So this is a silver mirrored glue chip glass. Yeah, so I've had this for a while. I've been holding on to it. I knew I wanted to save it for a perfect project. Did not think it was going to be this, but this is the perfect occasion. So I want to keep it extremely simple. I don't want it to be super flashy. I don't want to put like paw prints on it or anything like that, which if you want to do, absolutely fine. I just want to keep mine very simple. I don't want it super flashy. All we're going to do is glass etch her name at the top, and because it's a silver mirror, it's just going to be a very faint mattifying that you can see her name on the top, if that makes sense. So it's not going to stand out too much. I want to keep the pattern very simple for her. I just want a nice beautiful box for her to rest in. So for the pattern itself, I picked out a box from the Stained Glass Boxes book. So I'll have this linked below, guys. We're just going to use a basic box out of here and use kind of the skeleton of the pattern for our box. So this is the one that I picked out. It is the wooden crate, but we're essentially just using the outline itself, so we have the perfect sizing and don't have to measure and make our own pattern. But we're not going to do any of the intricate details within it. We're not going to do a ton of cuts. I want every side to be as smooth as possible. Again, we're going to let the glass speak for itself. That's the plan. We're going to make a beautiful urn box for my girl Armada. So yeah, that's the plan for today's video, guys. Let's get started. Okay, so like I said, we've already got our project or our pattern picked out. I'm going to use this wooden crate, and I picked this one specifically just because of the way the lid is, the size of it, and how we can simplify it. So this is project number 24. It starts on page 42 out of the Stained Glass Boxes book. So I have already photocopied a couple copies of it. So we've got a copy for our reference, and then we can use this copy for our actual stencil. So like I said, I want to keep this very simple. I just want it to look simple and beautiful. So all we're using is essentially the exact outline and the exact pattern itself of this project instead of the actual designs within it. So I'm going to keep each panel solid. So all I'm going to do is quickly laminate these pieces just to make them a little bit tougher. So I'm just going to throw some tape on the top of these because I don't have any adhesive sheets left. So I'm just going to use some shipping tape, and I'm just going to put it on the top of these pieces and then cut it out. I'm not going to put it on the bottom because I'm not too worried about it. We're just going to use this once and toss it, and then we've got our pattern ready to go. Super easy. Okay, so we've got all of our pattern pieces cut out and ready to go. Hopefully you guys aren't upset that I'm not doing any like crazy designs that you see on this one. I thought about like this sunburst one, but I don't like how the edge hangs over. I don't want it to look like a box that you can just go over and open up. I might even completely seal it shut, to be honest with you. The very first thing we're obviously going to have to do is cut out all of our individual pieces and then do the glass etching. So we want to do the glass etching before we obviously start putting this thing together. So the glass is just ready to go. We only need to cut one of each of those, and then we're going to need to cut two of each of these. So I'm going to grab my Sharpie. We're going to start tracing all of these stencil pieces out and start cutting. Okay, so the one downside of working with glass like this, any mirrored back or any Van Gogh that has this gray backing, it can be a little bit tricky just because it chips away. So you kind of have to be extremely gentle with glasses like this just to avoid that chipping. So as you can see, the backing on this, which makes the mirror, it's the same as any mirrored backing, is chippable. The gray backing just chips right off, and then it is no longer mirrored. It is literally just a clear glass. So I've got my Sharpie right here, and I'm just going to simply trace the outside of each of these. Okay, so if you guys aren't new here, then you'll notice that I'm leaving gaps in between my stencil pieces, which is a little unusual for me. Normally I butt everything right up against each other just to really minimize the amount of waste. But because we're making such straight cuts here freehand, I don't want to base it on the raw edge, which is not perfectly straight. So I'm leaving a little bit of gaps where I need to just ensure that everything is exactly straight the way it's supposed to be. Now I'm going in with my very basic pencil grip glass cutter and then snapping all of our scores with runners. Unfortunately, you can see I just messed up the second break, which is absolutely fine. It happens to us all. It even happens to me still sometimes this many years into making glass. We're just going to retrace it and recut them out. It's no problem. Luckily, we have plenty of this glass. So moving right along, we are just going to finish tracing out or cutting out the rest of these pieces with this pencil grip glass cutter and my runners, and finish getting them all cut and broken down. So as always, guys, if you have any specific questions on a particular step in stained glass, as I always say, I have dedicated videos to everything on my channel. Because stained glass is such a detail-oriented art form, it is very difficult to get all of the information you realistically need about every step in stained glass in one video without making it an hour long. So if you have more questions about particularly cutting stained glass or anything else, I will have my stained glass playlist linked down below. I have a ton of informational videos that you guys can go watch there too. All right, we've got all of our pieces cut out. I have gone ahead and swept the area that I am working on. We've got all of our doubles, so I believe that leaves us with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 pieces in total. Now we're ready to work on the box lid. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab the lid piece of glass that we have marked as the lid, and that's what we are going to be glass etching. So I'm going to go ahead and move everything else out of the way so we can prep our piece of glass to get that glass etching on. So to get this piece of glass nice and clean, I am just going to use 100% acetone. That's going to remove any oils, any residue that's left on our piece of glass. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, I'm just going to go ahead and use my Cricut machine to cut out a perfect stencil so I don't have to worry about hand cutting the kind of lettering I want. Like I said, I kind of want a ghostwriter vibe. It's going to be a very light touch on this glass that you can see her name, and it is a fact that she has passed away, so I just want it to have a creepy touch, as morbid as that may seem to some. But yeah, so I just picked this really cool lettering that kind of has drips on the bottom, so it's going to look very ghostwriter on the top of this box, which I absolutely love the idea of. Like I said, I'm just using Cricut transfer tape because I feel like that is going to be a perfect, super strong grip for glass etching. Okay, so I do realize it's super difficult. Obviously, you guys cannot see the actual stencil, but it'll be a nice surprise at the end. So let's move on to the glass etching cream. This stuff is dangerous. That's why it says danger in big letters on the front. You guys can read all about it if you guys buy a bottle. On the back, it shows you the steps. Apply your Armor stencil to a clean, dry, etchable glass object. Step 2, brush on a thick layer of Armor Etch glass etching cream. Then you wait 1 to 3 minutes, and then using running water, you rinse off your Armor Edge cream and you remove your stencil. So it is pretty easy, but like I said, the stuff is dangerous, so you want to use your proper precautions. As always, I've got 2-inch nails, so I'm not worried about touching this stuff, but you do not want to breathe it in. You do not want to obviously ingest it. Just use caution, use your head, you guys. Okay, so it has been a few minutes. I thoroughly washed my piece of glass. There is no glass etching cream residue left. So now I am just meticulously peeling off all the little pieces and big pieces of adhesive tape that's left over, and then just picking up all the little letter pieces in between. So when you first wash glass etching cream off, you will not see it. It will look like it's done nothing. You will not see the actual full design reveal until it is completely dry, so don't panic. And as usual, it's super hard to get this on camera because it's glass etching on a textured mirror, but hopefully you guys get the idea. It came out so good. Okay guys, we've got all of our glass pieces cut. We got the glass etching done, and I absolutely love how it turned out. It is that perfect, creepy, ghost writery vibes that I was looking for. I think it came out so beautiful. The exact vibe that I was looking for, both with the actual font itself and just how this glass etching looked on top of a textured mirrored glass. I think it looks so cool, especially in person. It looks freaking awesome. So like I had mentioned already a couple times in this video, this glass is really delicate. So I don't love putting this glass on a glass grinder, any glass grinder. You can put something underneath it to try to help prevent this backing from being scratched away like I was talking about earlier, or you can kind of just hold it up so it's not scratching along the base of your glass grinder grate, because no matter what, there's going to be little pieces of glass on there and it will scratch this. Although it will be the inside of the box, if it doesn't scratch away the gray backing completely, you will see scratches all over it. So sometimes you'll have to go in with an enamel paint and completely recover the back, or a felt backing, something like that. So to avoid all that, I'm just going to simply hand grind all of these edges. So because I'm not selling this piece, number 1, 2, it is extremely delicate glass, and 3, it is just a small box that is not going to actually be opened, if at all. I may end up completely sealing it shut. I still haven't decided. So I'm going to use my carbide glass grinding stones here and just grind every single edge by hand. So I get that question all the time when it comes to things like ring saws or glass grinders. Can you get a ring saw instead of glass grinder, or do you need a glass grinder at all when you're first starting out? And the answer is yes. You need to grind all of your glass edges, always, all the time. And a hand stone is just kind of for these projects like this, or for those couple pieces that you don't really feel comfortable putting on a glass grinder. I would never suggest hand grinding all of your glass. It takes a ton of time. It does not do as well of a job, obviously, as an actual glass grinder, and it does not replace that machine. So just want to get that out of the way. I am going to be hand grinding all of these edges. I do believe you can find these on a lot of different places, but Creators Brand actually sent me quite a few of these a few years ago when they sent me over their bottle cutter to review. So that's what I'm going to be using. Now, you definitely want to use water while you are grinding with these stones. So just like a glass grinder, you're going to need all of your pieces to be nice and wet as you're using this stone. So I've got my safety glasses here. I'm going to grab a cup of water, and then we are just going to hand grind all of these edges, or I guess we shouldn't even call it grind it. We're just kind of roughing up all of the edges. And if we need to straighten out anything a little bit, hopefully we can get that done with the hand stone too. All right, so I got my little cup of water here. I've got a big roll of paper towels right here because this does get quite messy. So I've got all of my supplies ready to go. Most importantly, safety glasses, because like I said, this stuff is going to be flying everywhere. And I'm just going to start with probably the smallest pieces. And I'm really going to be paying attention to our edges, making sure that they are nice and straight and that we don't have to kind of do some extra hand grinding. It's pretty simple, I suppose, pretty self-explanatory. What I like to do just to make it easiest is I just dip the actual stick or the glass inside my little cup of water to make sure it's nice and wet, and you just rub it along the edges, and that's it. All right, we have got all of our pieces dry, cleaned. They got their first bath in the water bucket. I gave them kind of a quick second rinse and then a final rinse in the sink, so they are all nice and clean and ready to go. It is time to foil. So I think I'm going with straight edge just because it's such an intricate design. It's a mirrored backing, it's silver. We've got a little bit of glass etching on the top, so I think I want to keep it pretty simple. Let's do just a regular silver backed copper foil, and we're going to copper foil all of our edges here. I'm going to start with the smaller pieces to just get them done. I have my favorite roller here, which one of you guys 3D printed for me. I absolutely love it. So I've got my little paint brushes. These I also use as burnishers. I tell you guys all the time, you don't need to buy something if you don't need to buy something. This is 9 times out of 10 what I just burnish my copper foil with, until I got sent this tool, that is, anyway. But sometimes still, when I'm in a rush, I'll just grab a paintbrush and get it burnished quickly. And we're not going to do nothing fancy because this glass kind of speaks for itself. It is beautiful as it is, and we're just going to simply foil our edges. We're just shooting for the center of the piece of foil, and we are going to run it down the edge of every piece of glass. So I like to kind of stretch it out like that as long as the piece itself, and then I'll touch it back down to the corner and kind of push along the edge. Then I'll go back in and crimp it, and same thing. So I'll pull a little bit out to cover that edge, because that kind of helps keep it straight. That's going to help keep your foil lines as even as possible. You can see that is perfectly even. We're not getting super thick foil over here, super thin foil over here. If you take it, stretch it out for the length of the edge that you're covering, touch it down in the center on both ends, then rub the edge down, and you know you're smack in the center, and then you can kind of crimp it. Of course, you always want to overlap your edges just a tiny bit. Fold, and now you can go in with a crimping tool if you like, or a burnisher. So I'm being kind of gentle on this backside, but again, that's why I love wooden burnishing tools. That's what we're going to be doing. We're just going to quickly copper foil all of our edges, then we can move on to actually putting this box together. Alrighty guys, we are at the best part, the fun part. We can start putting this box together. So I've got a bunch of rods cut of my 60/40 solder. I'm using Canfield 60/40 today. I'm just gonna use 60/40 for the whole box, and we are gonna start to assemble this thing. So you've just gotta put it together corner to corner. The only thing you've gotta pay attention to is making sure that you're not putting your glass butt to butt like this. You don't want, hopefully you guys can see that, you do not want edge to edge like that. You want corner to corner. Does that make sense? So it's always corner to corner instead of flat piece up against a flat piece. And we'll build out that bead on the edge of the box once everything is tack soldered together. So we've got everything pretty well labeled still. Some of it has washed away, but it's just a basic box. Unless you're putting a pattern together and using add-ons, stuff like that, this is going to be pretty easy because we're just using solid pieces of glass. So this corner over here is the perfect 90-degree corner, and that is going to help me kind of put our glass box together. Okay, so like I said, I am using this 90-degree angle to just help put this box together. Now, in the book, it does put all of the frame walls together first, and then the bottom or the top, depending on which one you do first. And then it puts the bottom or the top on. And they use a hard piece of paper or cardboard to kind of help hold that top piece in place. But as long as you're cutting all of your glass correctly, everything is straight lines, you used your patterns right, then it doesn't matter how you put this thing together. The most important thing, again, is corner to corner, not flat edge up against flat edge. We don't want to butt anything up against each other. We're meeting everything corner to corner, so it does not matter in what order you put it together. Whatever's most comfortable for you. Like I always say, everybody's kind of got their own way to do things. As long as we get the same end result and we're building a quality piece, then it does not matter how we got there. So I'm just going over all of these edges. Sometimes I'm just running down, laying a quick tinning, and then going back up and building that bead. Sometimes I'm kind of laying beads down the same way you would build up on a edge if you were having trouble making that thicker. But remember, if you are going over the same area multiple times, you need to give it a break in between or just be super cautious. Heat cracking glass is absolutely a thing. So if you're struggling to get that line smooth, give yourself a break, move on to another spot, and then come back and revisit it to smooth it out again. You do not want to heat crack your glass, then you get to start all over. Don't want to do that. Now that we've got our lid and our base completely soldered, we've got everything tinned, bead soldered, it is just about done. All we have to do now is put our hinge on. So I didn't want this thing sitting any longer because it is a mirrored glass. So I just took it to the sink really quick and I gave it a nice warm water soapy bath and dried it very, very well. Out of this book, there are two different types of hinges you can use, and that is just your basic box hinge, and then there is a wire supported hinge, and that's what they want us to do for this box specifically. So you're gonna need, our pattern called for a 7-inch copper tube, so that's what I cut mine to. We've got our rod that's gonna go inside of our tube, and we've got our copper wire reinforcer. So this is 18 gauge copper wire, and this is what we're going to use to reinforce our hinge with. Since this is going to be sitting at the bottom of the box, this hinge is going to be attached to the bottom versus the top, and that's what kind of dictates whether or not you're going to need that supportive wire in there. Everything is nice and clean. Really all we've got to do now is just lightly coat our copper tube in solder. Then we're going to put our rod inside, place it onto the back of the box, kind of solder it in place, put our supportive wire on, and then we're done, you guys. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So first things first, we've got to lightly coat this tube in flux. Okay, so as you can see, I just gave this copper tube a very good cleaning with our flux. You want to completely clean that tube off and get it nice and coated in a good amount of flux so you can go in and solder it. We are doing a nice light coat of solder on top of the tube, being very careful to avoid the ends. Obviously, you do not want to accidentally drop a bead in the end and completely close it off, then it is no good. So yeah, just doing a light coat of solder on top of the actual rod, smoothing it out, waiting for it to cool, and moving on. Okay, so here is another area where I veered from the book. Now, do not follow me in this. The only reason I did this is because I knew this box was not going to be opened and closed more than once. So they want you to put the wire reinforcer underneath the tube on the outside so it kind of holds it up. The point is to make it stronger, hold that tube up. So since I knew mine wasn't going to be open, I figured I might as well hide it, make it look a little bit prettier since this is an urn box, and I just tucked mine inside the tube and soldered it on the corners the same way. Alright guys, so I am just trimming down our little copper hinges here to make sure that they fit the top of this lid box because it is a pretty small top, so I'm having to trim quite a bit away. As I'm sure you guys can guess, soldering these hinges in place. So again, the only thing we're going to be careful about is getting close to the tube ends here. We don't want any solder beads to kind of get inside that tube and immobilize the actual hinge. So we're just going to be really careful and solder our little hinge brackets in place. So now comes the tough part. I'm going to give this one more bath in some really nice warm, super soapy water, give it a nice light scrub everywhere. And then I think we're gonna transfer Armada's ashes in here and we're going to seal it shut. I don't want this to be able to be opened. I do understand that we just made a lid, but there's no reason this needs to be opened again. This is going to be her final resting place, and then we're just going to tack solder it closed and we're done. Okay, I feel like I should show this to you guys because I was expecting something really unpleasant in here. I thought it was just going to be straight up like a clear bag of ashes, and it's not. I don't care if anybody says that this is like too morbid. This is my life. I'm going to record so much for you guys, and my dogs are such a huge part of my life, so I don't want to hear that this is too much. Okay. Oh God, I don't want to touch it. It's just my Mita. It's my little Mita. Here's her last collar and the last dog tag that I got for her. Sorry, I'm just freaking out now because I'm crying. So I've been keeping it together this whole video. Figured I'd show you guys something not so depressing. Yes, my other one. Yes, my girls. I'm fine. I'm almost done. Okay? Okay, I'm going to spare you guys more of the tears and stuffy sounding voice. So here we are. The box is just about done. I am just going to throw a bead right in the center to tack solder it shut. So I am just measuring for the center, and I'm going to drop a bead right in the middle so I don't ever have to look at this again. Let's get this out of the way here for 1 second. Hold on, Mita. Add a little bonus tutorial here. I want to put this little quartz crystal right where the box hinge would be if the box did have a hinge. So I'm going to have it sitting just like that. So all we have to do is just wrap our little crystal. We're going to wrap it right in the center here with a bit of copper foil. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna do one thin band right around the center. We're gonna solder it and then tack solder it onto the box itself so it looks like a little closure when in fact the box cannot be opened. For my good and for anybody else who tries to open the box, that'd be a nasty little surprise. All right, that's it. We've got our little metal band. So I'm gonna take this to the sink, wash it. We're gonna tack solder that onto our box, and Mita's done. All right, guys, so that's it. Here is our little Mita. I think she came out really, really beautiful. I'm very happy with the box. I'm really happy with the glass choice. I think this silver Van Gogh or silver glue chip mirror is such a beautiful, beautiful glass, and that hint of my little ghostwriting Armada. I love it. I think it came out perfect. So yeah, that's it, guys. Like I said, I knew from the very beginning I was gonna wanna make her her own custom box. Figured I'd share it with you guys. And I hope none of you guys are currently going through this kind of pain of losing a pet. I do like that I have the full hinge on it, but you cannot open this box because I do not want to open that again. It was rough looking inside there, not gonna lie. Thank God it was not what I was expecting. I will say that. I was literally expecting just like a literal bag of her ashes or something, but no, it wasn't that, so I'm happy. So yeah, that's it, guys. Making my dog a urn box. Yeah, yeah. I'll see you guys next time.
Sweetie, you got a new collar? Such a pretty girl. Yes. Such a pretty girl.